Hello everyone. I welcome you all on behalf of Supreme Court Young Lawyers Forum. Today, we gathered here for a very important discussion on the topic COVID-19, resumption of regular courts, challenges ahead, and remedial measures. And not only India, but the entire world is facing unprecedented lockdown from last more than 2 months due to fear of an invisible enemy, which affected lives of everyone very badly, including lawyers. Lawyers are self-employed persons and except a few percentage, majority of lawyers anyhow manage their households and families with face-saving masks. But in this lockdown, their income came to zero, but all the expenses are as it is. They have to pay school fee of children, salaries of staff, loan EMIs, rent, electricity, etc. Courts are shut, matters are not listed, clients are not coming, and courts are expecting lawyers to work from home through e-filing and video conferencing. But majority of lawyers do not have much technical ability and capability, and moreover, use of artificial intelligence will reduce dependency on manpower, which in turn will oust lakhs of lawyers from work. No learning by interns and juniors by sitting in court. So in this perspective, we arranged today's talk to find out a way. In this discussion, our chief guest is Honorable Mr. Justice A.K. Sikri, who will join us in some time. I welcome Ms. Pinky Anand, Senior Advocate and Additional Solicitor General of India. I welcome Mr. Jaideep Gupta, Senior Advocate. I welcome Mr. S. Guru Krishna, Senior Advocate. I welcome Mr. V.K. Shukla, Senior Advocate. I welcome Mr. Kirti Uppal, Senior Advocate and former President of Delhi High Court Bar Association. I welcome you all. Now to begin with, I invite Mr. Vikas Bansal, an always young President of Supreme Court Young Lawyers Forum, to say a few words to start the program. Mr. Bansal, please.
Thank you, Abhishek. Good evening, everyone. Honorable Mr. Justice A.K. Sikri, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, Ms. Pinky Anand, Senior Advocate and Additional Solicitor General of India, Mr. Jaideep Gupta, Senior Advocate, Mr. S. Guru Krishna Kumar, Senior Advocate, Mr. V.K. Shukla, Senior Advocate, Mr. Kirti Uppal, Senior Advocate, colleagues at the bar, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are gathered on this platform to weigh out how the normal functioning of Honorable Supreme Court, including other courts, would be resumed, so that legal fraternity is able to survive. The entire world, including our country, is facing the crisis caused by COVID-19, and it would not be an overstatement to say that the work has come to be a standstill. In this war against COVID-19, the citizens have no option but to practice self-isolation and to maintain social distancing, and in doing so, a large part of the working population has had to give up its source of livelihood. However, as the things have emerged, the battle with COVID-19 is going to be a long drawn one, and we have to live with this coronavirus. No army can march on an empty stomach. As fight against COVID-19 goes on, like everyone else, the lawyers also had to pick up the scattered piece of our lives. It cannot be denied that all the lawyers have willingly suspended their practice in order to fight the war against COVID-19. But at the same time, it also cannot be denied that the lawyers, especially junior lawyers, are suffering the most during this period of inertia. The Honorable Supreme Court has introduced new technologies to ensure that the wheels of justice are not brought to a halt. For achieving this goal, the Honorable Supreme Court is conducting the hearings of the matters via video conferencing, but to a limited extent, and only few lawyers are benefited with this system. Moreover, there are frequent disturbances during video conference hearing due to unsatisfactory Wi-Fi connection and other technical issues. It is important to mention that there are about 2,000 lawyers who are on panel of different states, including Union of India. And there are also more than 1,000 junior lawyers who depend upon the day-to-day hearing of the case in Supreme Court alone. It would be worthy to inform all of you that 6 senior lawyers of the Bombay High Court urge Chief Justice of High Court to resume the regular functioning of the courts. In view of this, I most humbly request the Honorable Chief Justice of India that lawyers, being the largest stakeholders of the judicial systems, have to be considered by the bench at that time when they are facing great hardship during the COVID-19 pandemic, and look forward, Your Lordship, for resumption of normal court hearing with certain restrictions. I would like to suggest some. Honorable Court may not take more than 40 matters individually by all benches daily, including fresh and after notice matters. Honorable Court may sit in 2 phases. First, 20 matters should be taken from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. and after break of half an hour, resume further. Entry in the courtrooms should be for the lawyers of first 5 matters. Not more than 3 lawyers, and in case of government matters, not more than 5 lawyers should be allowed in courtrooms. Only 1 registered clerk of the concerned lawyer should be allowed in courtrooms. In courtrooms, the distance between the honorable judges and the appealing counsels may be increased. Video conferencing should be optional, and during video conferencing, links should be provided for at least 5 lawyers, especially in government matters. Ban the entry of litigants and interns for at least 3 months. Wearing masks should be mandatory. I would also like to mention that Honorable High Court of Kerala as well as Honorable High Court of Chhattisgarh notified to function with its full sitting strength, and the benches will hear the matters through physical sitting in court halls with certain restrictions. The Allahabad High Court has also issued the modalities for functioning of district courts in the state during the lockdown from 22nd of May and thereafter. The Bar Council of India on Wednesday decided to hold countrywide consultations with lawyers and litigants on resumption of regular hearing in all courts. The Bar Council of India said, quote, "We cannot expect an effective hearing in this process. The public and advocates are in dark as to what is really going on in various courts of the country," unquote. The Bar Council of India urges the Honorable Chief Justice of India and the Honorable Chief Justice of High Courts to take note of the real difficulties faced by lawyers in getting the hearing before the court. I am very much thankful to Live Law, an authentic legal news portal from where I gathered all this information. At the end, through this platform, I myself and on behalf of Supreme Court Young Law Forum, once again, with folded hands, humbly request the Honorable Chief Justice of India to kindly consider our request and take appropriate decisions to resume normal court with certain conditions. Otherwise, the lawyers, especially the junior lawyers and their families, would be in great hardship, and it would be very difficult for them to survive. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Mr. Bansal. Now, for this very good speech, I invite Mr. Kirti Uppal, Senior Advocate, a very energetic Senior Advocate and former President of Delhi High Court Bar Association. Uppal sir, please come.
Yeah, first of all, I'm grateful to the organizer for giving me a chance to speak. I would say today the most hot topic. I heard Mr. Bansal. I believe it's the same sentiments which is going around with everyone. Before I start, or before I speak out on this topic of resumption and regular course challenges ahead, and remedial measure, which is a very appropriate at this stage. Let me just tell my younger friends, good evening to all my younger friends, and good evening to the learned speakers, Mr. Sikri, Madam Pinky Anand, Guru, my friend, and all the panelists who are sitting there. I'm honored and humbled to make a small submission on this subject. And let me put it like this. Wherever I say I want the courts to open. I want to do this, which would mean we. Now, this COVID has really brought the entire world into a real confusion stage. Today, you'll hear the news, there is a vaccine. Tomorrow, you'll hear the news, the vaccine is not really that effective. Today, you'll hear wear mask only in case if you're talking to someone. Tomorrow, they'll say, no, wear mask throughout. Today, you'll see that one sneeze is enough to spread COVID. Tomorrow, you'll say, no, it has to be coupled with fever and all. So what I'm trying to say is utter chaos, utter confusion. We don't know. And the best part is then the experts on a medical field, they come out with this. Oh, there is something known as asymptomatic, which I may be carrying, but you don't know. Behold all this. I share my sentiments with Mr. Vivek Bansal. So when I say, as I said earlier, when we say, I want the courts to be open, I ask myself a question. Am I ready? Am I ready to face the fear psychosis which has been created for the last 2 months? Am I ready to discipline myself? Again, I mean we all. Am I ready to respect the health of other person? Am I ready to follow the discipline which has been settled, or I would say submitted by Vivek Bansal? When we talk of all this, are we ready? Are we going to discipline ourselves? Then I think it makes a lot of sense. Because, as he rightly said, courts won't open. I'm not only on financial, because that is the major cause of worry, but there are more than financial causes. You have aged parents at home. You have people who are not all that medically fit. So you can't bring that problem to them. Having said that, assuming, and God forbid, if the authorities which we are trying to impress, and let me add here, I've been watching only few people. I'm watching the Prime Minister talking to the nurses, the Prime Minister talking to all stakeholders, Sarpanch, IS officers. My first suggestion would be that we as lawyers, because Kirti Uppal or Guru or Pinky Anand do not form the total members of the bar. There are 20,000 practicing lawyers in this Delhi state. 20,000, this is according to BCI. And out of them, some youngsters, and why I say so is, some youngsters today are better equipped than we are in case of technology. And why I'm saying so is, if God forbid, the regular courts, we don't visualize a situation which will start, say, by tomorrow or day after tomorrow or by next month, then what all we can do? I have got some suggestions from some of these young lawyers. Good evening, Justice Sikri. And Justice Sikri, I can see now. We can't hear him.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, good
Can
evening,
you-
sir.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. But I'm
Yes.
so sorry. Actually, I have not only come late, but I have to quit also very early because of the reason that I told Vikas I am in another meeting which will go on and it may go on well past 5. But they still said that no, you try to come. So I've taken 5 minutes leave from them, and there's a break of 5 minutes. I have to go back, and that
Then
is
let's listen to Justice Sikri first.
no, please. I've spoken a lot on these things.
Sir,
I'm really, I will welcome. Please continue.
sir, we want to hear you, sir. Please, sir. Sir.
No. Please continue.
Sir.
Please continue after you. Please complete it.
Uh, so I was, sir, I was saying, let me just.
No, I've been hearing you for last 5-7 minutes.
No, sir, don't say that. Vikas will say that you have crossed your limit. So I was on the point. Are we ready? Am I ready?
Yes, I've heard that. Yes.
So going back to that sentiment of Vikas Bansal, we all feel the court should be open. Therefore, my question I posed to myself was, am I going to respect other person's health care? Am I going to respect other person's hygiene? Am I going to care for all this? And if it's not possible, then one of the suggestions, because there are a couple of youngsters, including Mr. Aman Balla's bar and bench, Anshuman Sami, Rashmeet Kaur, the young lawyer, I got some of these people note, and I realized that it's this generation which can give you a better roadmap than us, because we may not be as equipped with the legal technical knowledge. See, today, whether it is Supreme Court or Delhi High Court, we have been last for 5-6 years, the digitization being done of most of the records. We have so many cases today, and why I'm saying, Vikas, it is for your consideration also, even assuming the courts are open, because the court should open, the client should come, the industry should start working, everything should come in order, then only a lawyer will start working. Because if the industry is not working, if there are no fresh disputes, if there are no fresh crimes, as the cops are more busy with the bandobast, then the legal service sector gets its work from all these factors. So if the no fresh cause of action going to come, then even if the courts are open, it will not do any great job. Yes. Now, when we talk of the matters pending for last, say, 10 years, 15 years, we have so many matters like Section 34 of the Arbitration Act, or wherever the pleadings have been completed, say in civil rates, say in criminal rates, say in criminal appeals. There are so many matters which unfortunately do not get a chance to be heard, as the courts are always burdened with 40 matters, 50 matters as supplementary. So this is a golden opportunity, and which I always feel that we both, which is the bar and the bench, have to work in concerted effort. And we have to impress upon the authorities that this is the time, this is the opportunity where we can start contributing towards, I would say, lowering the pendency. It has 3 effects, according to me. The matters which is already in, I would say, ripe for arguments, you can call the clients, you can hear them, they can hear you, they can also hear you in the video conferencing in case if the actual course is not permissible for any reasons. Then the process starts. If you are able to complete the pendency which has been pending for last 10 years, that's my again idea about it, we'll be able to do justice to the justice delivery system. Yes, that's not the permanent solution. If the courts are going to open, there are suggestions which says let 1/3 court be open, let us extend the time, let us also have, I would say, the video conferencing cases simultaneously. Some courts which prefer today video conferencing, we must adopt it. Now the question would be, Kirti Uppal says he doesn't have the know-how. He doesn't have the iPad. We all have in Supreme Court or High Court or in various high courts, where we have these cubicles made. The bar room, the Delhi High Court has a bar room. We have to start thinking out of the box. How do we provide all these facilities to people who don't have at home? As Vivek has rightly said, today we are at a crossroad. And mind you, it's a very difficult situation for those young lawyers, because if this has happened 25 years back, I don't know what I would have done. I was a young lawyer without any background. I had a refrigerator on EMI, and I'm talking about those lawyers who are genuinely practicing lawyers. The house on EMI, the car on EMI, the air condition on EMI. So you have a minimum expenditure. The right of survival today is not only of eating food, which God can take care and God has been taking care. But then those are the lawyers who need regular work today. That work which is already there with them, but has not been heard for A reason or B reason. If, and I'm again using this word big if we all make a promise to ourselves that if the courts are open and we are going to adhere to all those disciplines, then it will make sense. Otherwise, assuming if it is open for, say, 1 week, 10 days, and then you find all of a sudden a grave situation which has emerged out of this opening of the courts, then God bless us, then we don't know. Because we have also heard that let's have this, herd immunity. Then the next day comes, no, it doesn't work here in India. Herd immunity will not work here because we don't have the infrastructure to even face that kind of a situation. So I believe we all have a very important duty, an important task ahead of us. If we are saying that we want regular courts to open, then we have to first convince ourselves, am I prepared under the given circumstances to work under these circumstances? That's in a nutshell I have said. And I can also request people that go to Bar and Bench, where we have made these video conferencing or lecture also. We have settled down a topic which will be beneficial, because we should not go with a closed mind. If courts are not open, then we are doomed. If assuming, God forbid, courts are not open, then the alternative remedy has to be in our mind. And that remedy, according to me, the youngsters who are well equipped with the technology will guide us. The order is going to change. The world order is going to change. The youngsters will have to take the situation in their control so that they can guide us now rather than we guiding them. That's all I can say for the moment. Over to Uday.
Thank you very much for this fantastic speech. Now I have a special request from our chief guest, Honorable Justice A.K. Sikri, because he has to go somewhere. Otherwise, as per hierarchy, we would have privilege to listen him in the last. But now we have to invite him. I welcome Honorable Justice A.K. Sikri. Kindly come.
No, thank you very much. And I should again apologize everybody that the other engagements were and all those appointments were prefixed, and still I assured and promised Vikas Bansal that I'll be there for some time. At least I'll try to come. So it's good that you are accommodating me at this stage so that I can go back. I would not speak much, but let me, once we are talking of the starting of regular courts, as I don't know the other speakers who said before Mr. Kirti Uppal, but I have heard Mr. Kirti Uppal and his very sane advice which he has given. And the clear message which he has sent is, are we prepared for it? So therefore, let us understand, today we are in a COVID-19 situation, which is still, and which are still grappling with it. and we have not been able to overcome it. And it is not only in India, but throughout the world. And so, therefore, we see this situation, as I see it, I mean, from two dimensions. Number one, today, what is happening when it is there that we are in a lockdown situation, and coupled with the fact that although there's a partial lifting of the lockdown, but then the protocol which we are supposed to observe, taking care of this coronavirus situation, is that the social distancing, etc., that has to be maintained, because it is a contagious disease, and you can't. I mean, insofar as our lifestyles are concerned, they have totally changed. And even if we go out now, those who are permitted to go out, person like me is not even permitted to go out even in this partial lockdown because of my age. But those who are permitted to go out, they have to wear masks, they have to wear gloves, and you have to sanitize time and again yourself. And therefore, you should not come in contact with the not only other persons, you should not be in close proximity with them, and there has to be a physical distancing, which we call social distancing. But even when you go to the premises, it is very, I mean, I'm talking of court premises, you cannot touch those like a handle of a door, or a tap, etc., which are touched by all. So they have to be sanitized time and again, time and again. So one thing is there, that there has to be a constant monitoring. No, so first, let me first talk about this lockdown situation. So, insofar as lockdown is there, and because of this lockdown, courts are today closed in the sense, in physical sense, and hearing is taking place only on video conferencing. Obviously, during this period, there cannot be regular courts, and it is wise not to have that. But over a period of time, as rightly told by Mr. Kirti Uppal, this situation can't continue. After all, as I say always, that as the in today's time, medical profession, which is a very, very important essential service, and without which we cannot cope with. Likewise, although it is not that apparent, and we can't feel it, but what I feel is that even the access to justice is an essential service, and the courts, the doors of the courts can't be shut under any circumstance. And we have seen the situation when there were floods, heavy floods in Jammu and Kashmir, and everything was closed about 4 or 5 years ago, and the High Court still was functioning, and Justice M.M. Kumar, who was Chief Justice of the High Court at that time, ensured that the court functions from his premises. So, because that was the spirit behind this access to justice, maybe that the hearings were not taking place in a routine or usual manner, but whatever it could be done, it was happening. So, therefore, keeping in mind these things, as far as what I feel is, during this period, yes, I would say COVID-19 situation has, in a way, there's a silver lining behind it, that it has given us an opportunity out of necessity to bring judicial reforms by by introducing as much technology as possible, and having the e-system, having the video conferencing, etc. And if you know, I mean, everybody knows it. When it started, it was 1 or 2 or 3 matters that too very, very important, and most of them COVID-related matters, which were heard by the High Court, or Delhi High Court, as well as Supreme Court, and likewise bail applications, etc., by the district courts, and on video conference. But over a period of time, there's a progression. Today, about 10-15 courts are functioning in the Supreme Court, and likewise in the High Court also. So slowly, but it is all happening only on video conferencing. So the first thing which all of us have to learn, and Kirti has again, they said very rightly, it is a young generation which can guide us as to how to make strides. If I take an example of this arbitration word, since I'm privy to that nowadays, and particularly international arbitration. Now, most of these organizations, SIAC, that is Singapore International Arbitration Center, or LCIA, London, ICC, Paris, or even in America, etc., they are ensuring that the hearing should go on. and they are going on through video conferencing. And there, sometimes the arbitrators, three arbitrator panel, they are of different jurisdictions. I had one matter which I conducted, of course, long ago on 1st April during COVID time only in Singapore, as I am the international judge of Singapore International Commercial Court. Now I'm talking off court. I was sitting in Delhi on video conference, judge in Singapore. There was one judge from Singapore who was sitting in Singapore court room, and the third judge was from UK. We both were supposed to go to Singapore to hold that hearing, but then we were in our respective jurisdictions. I was in Delhi and he was in London. And one party who was from Singapore was in Singapore. He appeared in the court in Singapore. The other party was in Malaysia, appeared through video conferencing in Malaysia. So these things are happening, and in the arbitration world, and most of these institutions have changed their rules, have come out with the new protocols, how to take care of the various situations, and so that the hearings on video conference goes on smoothly, and there's no tomorrow any allegations of unfairness in procedure, etc. So, but this technology is to be imbibed by us. What I feel is that even when the normalcy comes, why not? Because this technology, I'm saying something in addition to it. And again, young generation can help us there. That this technology can bring so many other judicial reforms also. It can contribute towards, and that I'm saying from my personal experience, it can contribute in court management, in case management. It can take care of areas, etc., in a big way. So therefore, the time has come that we imbibe this technology. We should upskill, upgrade our skills, and we should learn more skills also at any age. When I am doing today all these arbitrations, etc., on video conferencing at my age, why not young generation could do it? But that is one part. I agree that at the same time, it cannot be that the courts are at physical distance and every work is happening only through video conferencing. That is situation not possible at all. We have to return to normalcy. We have to return back to those times when the physical appearance in the court and the court hearings were taking place. What I will say from this coronavirus, as I'm saying today, the hearings are taking place, like in Delhi High Court, few years ago, almost 10 years ago, we started with the paperless court. When Justice Ravinder Bhatt's court was the first court, which e-court we call it, and paperless court started. And today there are about 12 or 13 paperless courts. Why not tomorrow, even when normalcy returns, there are 1, 2 or 3 video conferencing courts. That those matters which can be done through video conference, which save cost, and where the person is not able to come physically, that person can appear, whether he's advocate or he's a witness, etc. Those things can take place. But that is one part. And what I feel is, so therefore, as far as coronavirus and conditions because of this, so long as normalcy doesn't return, and we have to cope with it, and even if it returns, I say that we should not do away with this video conferencing altogether. And for time being, like it is happening today, that if I have a case in the High Court and I file a petition, and they will tell me on such and such date, and you come at 11:30 or you come at 12:30. Beginning, now I'm coming to regular court functioning. Now, how to start with it? As we have to maintain social distancing in any case, that even when the physical hearing start, to begin with, after taking all the kinds of precautions which we have to take, no doubt about it, but then to begin with, we can have, if the number of cases less, as Kirti also said, that those cases which are pending, which are old cases, or where the pleadings, etc., are complete and they are ripe for hearing, and those cases which may be of urgent nature and ripe for hearing, why not? And those cases which may not take much time, why not list those cases? And we give time. So in a particular court, so suppose that 10 final hearing matters are listed, and the court takes an assessment that one case will take 15 minutes or half an hour, 1 hour. So depending upon that, one case at 10:30, other case at 11:30, third case at 12 o'clock, and the persons are permitted to come only at that time and enter the courtrooms when the case is, suppose I'm giving a time slot of 12 noon, so I'm permitted to enter at 11:55, not before that. So likewise, this way we can curtail the crowd. And of course, at the same time, as I again repeat, Kirti has raised a very, very important issue. Are we prepared? So everybody will have to have this self-discipline in this matter. We cannot say that, okay, now courts are have opened and we are free. We can be in this herds of 100 or 200 persons in one courtroom, and that would do. This situation, we don't know when we'll be able to cope with it. As I said, we are in uncertain times. Today, till the time vaccine for this coronavirus is there and cure is found, we do not know how long it will continue. And another thing which we have to keep in mind, and many doctors are saying, it is not that kind of natural calamity will go away. We may have to live with this virus for all times to come. Like SARS and like H1N1, which came earlier, but then even, of course, now cure is found for those diseases also, which was not available when they struck. But then today, the situation is that we are living with it, but they are not treated as that deadly which they used to be. But even today, if somebody suffers with SARS or H1N1, then that person is to be isolated for 1 week or 10 days even now. So therefore, but as far as this is concerned, till the time cure is found, not that for next 6 months or 1 year or 2 years, courts can be closed. We have to start functioning again. But then we have to function in a regulated manner, in this manner. That is one thing. So therefore, my take is on this, that times have changed. Coronavirus or this COVID-19 has brought a situation which has changed. As I said, I always say it has impacted the world in 3 ways. Lives, many people are dying, lives are taken away, many people have become unemployed, and lifestyle. So our lifestyle has changed. And this lifestyle, the third thing, which we do not know how long it will continue. Even when there's a complete lifting of lockdown and we are entitled to, or we are allowed to move out, we may still have to go with masks, we may still have to go with our gloves, we may still have to take care of our personal hygiene, etc., and maintain that social distance. So we have to live with it. We have to adopt at least this lifestyle. Even when we are moving out, we don't know for how long. And therefore, that has to be now, every citizen and every lawyer has to act in a responsible manner, and will have to work in this atmosphere. So this is what I would say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Justice Sikri.
Thank you very much, sir. Sorry
Very much.
sir. But sir,
I can take your permission now because they are waiting for me.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
you very much, sir. Thank you.
Sir, thank you.
Now, after Justice Sikri left, our Madam Pinky Anand will be the chief guest for the rest of the program. Now I invite Mr. V.K. Shukla, sir, senior advocate and former judge of Delhi Allahabad High Court. Shukla, sir, please come.
A very good evening to all my colleagues and to the young members of the Supreme Court Young Lawyers Forum. Friends, the issue that we are joining today is a very, very major issue as on date. As we have entered the 4th lockdown, and 4th lockdown has come with large number of relaxations. The issue that remains before us is as to in what way manner the public health concern is to be balanced with the access to justice. And as far as access to justice is concerned, a roadmap has been prepared to give access to justice by means of this technology in question. The Apex Court on 6th April 2020 proceeded to accept that technology is here to stay, and in that direction, the Apex Court proceeded to issue directions so that social distancing is maintained and the route to access to justice is not at all transgressed or stopped. The issue is that much time has elapsed by now, and it is the 4th lockdown that we have entered upon, and we could take notice of this fact that as on date, the aeroplanes are going to fly, the trains are going to resume duties, then in such a situation in this background, should we restrict ourselves to technology measures alone, or we should also proceed to have a hybrid condition wherein both the systems should come into play? That is, that the technology should also be given its way and regular hearing should also be resumed on a short-term basis. That is, that on Monday and Friday we used to have miscellaneous matters. On that day, we can proceed to have technological help by video, by virtual court systems. And on 3 days, regular hearing can take place wherein restricted number of cases could be listed on the board and restricted number of counsels are given access along with clients in case they are required, and in case clients are not required, then they should not at all be permitted. But since much period has passed on and technology has come here to stay, and I may inform that technology is also for the benefit of everybody. It is true that it maintains social distancing, but it is also equally true that a person sitting at Bombay, the person sitting at Madras, the person sitting at Allahabad and Lucknow, they are also addressing the courts, which in normal course of business, they were reluctant to appear before the courts because of the distance calls. But as of now, they are getting their numbers, they are waiting for their turn, and they are entering and appearing before the courts. So the system should be welcomed, but the system should not be made an absolute welcome. And with this fourth lockdown, when the government has come up and various relaxations have been accorded, the Chief Justice of India should also take a call, because once the Supreme Court takes a call, then only the other courts would follow. Because right from the beginning, when this COVID-19 breakdown, it was the apex court that came heavily on 6th April and took a decision that they will proceed to close the court, nobody would be permitted. And then the rest of the courts followed, Allahabad High Court, Chennai High Court and others. So the apex court will have to take a call on this aspect of the matter as to in what way and manner they should draw a roadmap providing for remedial measures wherein regular hearing should take place, in as much as regular hearing is also a requirement and demand of the day for 2 days, and option should also be taken from the litigants as to whether they are willing for virtual hearing. In case they give option for virtual court hearing, then their matter should be listed before the virtual hearing courts, or whatever arrangement should be made by the court on alternate day basis or on regular day basis. But my submission is, and my request would be to request through this forum that once remedial measures are required to be taken, then as far as Monday and Friday are concerned, on the set dates, this technology forum should be used, and this technology should be used to get access to the court. But on other 3 days, that is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, minimum number of cases should be listed before the court. Social distancing should be maintained. The client should be permitted to the minimal for their presence in the court. Limited number of counsel should be permitted, so that we should also start taking risk. The other forums are taking risk. The railway has started taking risk. The flight sector is taking risk. The factories are being opened. Then there is no reason for us to be afraid and only go for technological issues. So my suggestion would be, and my request would be, and that would be to the help of the members of the bar also, that let us have a hybrid system wherein a mix of both video conferencing and physical hearing should be introduced on a timetable basis. Monday, Friday, video conferencing, and Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. This is my suggestion, and with this, I hope that after fourth lockdown has been promulgated, with large scale sectors opening, the court should also come forward. Instead of that, we should live like a closet and we should not open any doors. We should open our doors, and we should also start taking risks. But as has been rightly pointed by Mr. Uppal and Justice Sikri, that self-discipline is a must, because we all have learned to be in self-discipline between all these fourth lockdowns. And so, along with self-discipline, everybody should respect the life of others also. And with this, my request would be to convey to the apex body who are in charge of all these affairs that a hybrid system be introduced with a mix of both video conferencing and physical hearings on daily basis. This is all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shukla sir. Thank you very much. Now I invite Mr. S. Guru Krishna Kumar, Senior Advocate. Guru sir, please.
Jaideep Gupta, Justice Shukla,
Thank you, sir.
Kirti Uppal, Mr. Bansal, Uday, Abhishek Atre, everyone, and all the others who are not seen. And hopefully in the next few minutes, I will not become an Ashariri in the sense that both my voice and my face will be continued to be seen. I just had a few of these thoughts to share. I think Mr. Uppal has put it in perspective when he said that we need to upskill ourselves. We need to improve our skills in terms of technological tools which have come in. There's no gainsaying the fact that we cannot live closeted and say that these improvements are beyond me and therefore I can't really improve myself. That's not possible. What was pertinently pointed out by Justice Sikri again is something which is very compelling. These are very trying times, critical times. We cannot straight away say, yes, physical courts can be done on a regular basis as was being done in the past. We have to accept certain reality. But having said all that, I find a lot of force in the impassioned plea of Mr. Vikas Bansal. The profession as it is structured today has certain inherent problems. The junior members of the bar are the hardest hit. They are persons who have to work on a daily basis to be able to keep themselves afloat. Their position is extremely critical. Their position is very pitiable. Now, in the circumstances, I think that there have to be some serious thought going into resumption of physical courts in whatever limited manner it may be. It is definitely something which has to be thought about. We are now into more than 2 months of lockdown. There is no doubt about the fact that the problem that we are facing is something which cannot be stated with certainty. Even medical experts are not able to say certainly how the pandemic is going to pan out. What kind of measures have to be taken? Whether there will be some kind of a spike in 1 month's time or within 15 days' time or tomorrow, day after, nobody is able to say. Notwithstanding that, now that there is a graded opening up of all activities across the board, I think there should be a serious look at opening the courts also. There have been this talk about suggestions about shifts being operated in courts. I think that's a very good suggestion. Justice Shukla has spoken about how we can probably have this rotational system. 2 days you have video conferencing courts and then rest of the days during the week you have physical courts. Now, these are all options which can be considered. Now, having said that, I want to also focus on something larger. Now, we hear this talk repeatedly that the lockdown, which has been brought about because of the pandemic, is an inflection point in terms of technology coming firmly into place in the day-to-day running of courts. The question I ask myself is that so? My answer would be both yes and no. There are, in fact, two approaches, if I may say so. One is the immediate outlook. The other is the larger or the long-term outlook. Now, looking at the immediate issues, there are serious problems which are being faced in technology. Day in and day out, we see how the running of the virtual courts are beset with problems, technological limitations. 1. 2, lawyers don't have the expertise to be able to handle virtual courts. This is the second problem. Third is the access that is available for lawyers across the board to be able to appear in a virtual court is again something which is very, very seriously questionable. Now, some arrangements have been purported to be made for availability of virtual court tools, as it were, on a common basis by the bar associations. But I dare say that they are inadequate. Now, these are all some of the immediate problems. Now, on a long-term basis, my concern is this. Can this become some kind of beginning point or excuse for bringing into place a system where video conferencing or virtual courts becomes the order of the day? That is something, according to me, which will be a problem and perhaps should not be thought of. There are various reasons for that. At the end of the day, the profession is something which has a huge human element to it. I do not think it will be appropriate to compare the justice dispensation system with running of other services. Maybe it would do well for running other services. Maybe corporate affairs could be run on a certain basis through video conferencing, through virtual meetings, etc. But it cannot be lost sight of the fact that the justice dispensation system would require resumption of physical courts at the earliest. In fact, I wanted to highlight one interesting study which I came across in this journal called the International Journal of the Legal Profession. There, 2 or 3 Australian professors have written in 2018 about the audiovisual devices which are used in regular court proceedings in Australia. They had to say one of the things they had to say was very interesting. They said use of audiovisual aids seriously undermines the gravitas of the court system. It undermines the decorum and the seriousness of the proceedings. The other day, we came across some instances where there were lawyers who appeared in video conference proceedings without proper attire. Now, these are all examples of the kind of problems that would be faced. There is no doubt about the fact that technology has to be integrated. Tools like artificial intelligence are extremely necessary. They would greatly assist in mining of large data. They would help in streamlining of cases. They would help in understanding voluminous documentation, in running through documentation very quickly. But having said all that, I still believe that there has to be resumption of physical courts, and that, according to me, has to take place as early as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Guru sir. Thank you very much. Now I invite next in discussion Jaideep Gupta sir. Jaideep Gupta, senior advocate. You are welcome. Please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Atre. Very good afternoon to everybody who has joined us. And I'm grateful to be invited by the Young Lawyers Forum to speak on this issue, which is almost of existential importance to all of us here in this room, in this virtual room. Till full normality is restored, and we don't even know whether full normality can ever be restored, we have to put in place what is the best alternatives that we can think about. Now, at this present point of time, we have been given a set of rules by the authorities, that is to say by the government, that you have to function within a set of rules. The rules are masks, social distancing, and hygiene. But there are 2 other things also which are very important and which I shall mention after I've indicated why I'm bringing this up. The point is that you cannot have or put in place a system which suits some people and does not suit others. The fundamental premise of the legal profession is a level playing field. And if you put into place something which is all right for some of us but not for others, then we are violating perhaps the basis of this profession. And what are the 2 things, 2 restrictions which are already with us? One is people above 65 cannot come out. So if you devise a system which allows physical courts to go back to operate, you will leave out above 65 lawyers. And I must say that we are, of course, approaching that kind of a limit now, surprisingly. It's very difficult to believe that. But the fact of the matter is that in a profession like the legal profession, it's the senior most people who pull the maximum weight. And so therefore, we cannot devise a system where the senior most and the most respected and the most effective part of the profession cannot participate. The second one is that mobility is still restricted. Everybody can't come out. In containment zones, you have to stay in. You cannot come out. No question. So therefore, if you open up physical courts today, then you leave out all those people who are currently stuck in containment zones. So therefore, my first point is that the system that you wish to put in place must be a level playing field for all advocates, for all lawyers, and not for some only. The second thing is this, that there are certain inherent problems given the current circumstances to the operation of physical courts as we have done before March of this year. One is that there are huge crowds. It operates almost like a marketplace. Secondly, there are closed spaces. Thirdly, a large amount of papers which require physical movement, papers and books, are brought into play in the normal course. These are matters where merely by controlling the inside of the courtroom, you are not going to be able to find a solution. You have to be able to control the entire environment. That is, the entire campus of the court must be capable of social distancing, masks, hygiene, etc., etc. So therefore, what we see inevitably is that the existing format needs to change for the short run. By this, I mean that the processes that a lawyer normally follows, at this point of time, we must curb, we must change. And whether that change is so beneficial that even after the normalcy is restored, that remains to be seen. Now, how do we streamline the processes? The Chief Justice of India in the video conference where they unveiled the e-filing process made a very important observation that congregation, the word he used was congregation, congregation will be necessary at all times in certain matters, in certain situations, but the situations where congregation is necessary must be limited, must be curbed, so that we don't have to congregate every time. I fully agree with Guru that the human element of the legal profession, at least as far as advocacy is concerned, is very critical, and therefore there are situations which cannot be handled except through congregation. So therefore, the way I'm looking at it is that we have to change our processes in such a way that congregation is limited, and as far as possible, we are able to carry on the affairs in a manner which is efficient, but which does not require congregation. Now, in this regard, of course, it has been noted that we have been moving for several years, we have been moving towards virtual courts, and that this crisis is probably going to force us to move even faster and closer to virtual courts, with the rider that, of course, many things are still going to be there which requires people to meet. But there are many things which can be done without meeting. The first is e-filing. E-filing doesn't require physical meeting to take place. And in fact, just look at the advantage of it. They are proposing to have 24/7 filing. Now, obviously, if human interaction was required for that purpose, it could never be 24/7. But look at it, if it is automated, then you can have 24/7 filing. So e-filing, and it takes away the necessity for a large throng of lawyers to come and approach the registry, come to the court, etc., etc. One activity, therefore, can be reduced from the number of activities which require congregation. Second part of it is that you can reduce a lot of work and a lot of carrying papers and books around by upscaling the amount of written advocacy that we are practicing at this point of time. So if all the case law that you wish to rely upon and your propositions are presented to court in a written form, maybe through email or through various other automated means, then again, the scope of the hearing and the congregation will be considerably reduced. Then everybody comes to court when they are fully ready, and then after that, there is a discussion only on those aspects which require a discussion. I had the good fortune of listening to the current hearings which are going on in the American Supreme Court, which is broadcast over C-SPAN radio nowadays, and they are using teleconferencing. They're not even using video conferencing. The voice and everything is very clear, and the judges are asking questions and getting responses. So to some extent, that is one way of reducing the necessity for interaction. And of course, that requires the court to be fully ready before it starts the hearing of a case. So these are ways, and we can think about more. These are ways in which procedures are streamlined in such a way that yes, there is congregation, but congregation is kept to a minimum. And that is the method by which I think we can move forward. I do not believe for a minute that these changes will affect the younger lawyers. The younger lawyers are the ones who are best in a position now to avail of all these advances that we are talking about. And they are the ones who will come forward and say, yes, let's have e-filing. Yes, let's have video conferencing. Let's have technology. They are the ones who are going to benefit from it. They are the people who will find that the playing field has got even more level as a result of this kind of change. And who knows, maybe at the end of it all, we will have devised a system which we will wish to follow, even when courts are able to resume normal work, which we don't know when it will be. We don't know whether it's 6 months, whether it's 2 years, and whether we'll have to have some restrictions in place for the rest of our lives. We don't know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now it's time of none else than our Pinky ma'am, Ms. Pinky Aran, the Additional Solicitor General and Senior Advocate. They kindly come.
Thank you, Abhishek. Good evening, everybody. I think it's been a very interesting hearing. In fact, I've been sitting and listening with interest to all the various viewpoints expressed by panelists. And I must say, though there are some common threads, but there are different aspects everybody has picked up. So it has become by itself an extremely composite kind of debate on the subject. But if you ask me what I feel, for a moment, I'll just narrow down to some of the issues that the speakers had addressed, and then I'll express a few thoughts of my own, some points that I wish to take. I think the most overpowering, of course, was Kirti Uppal in his inimitable style to talk about where are we going or what are we prepared to do. I think these questions always pose some kind of dilemma to which we all are looking for answers. We are talking about interests of divergent groups. Let's take it at that. Divergent, I don't mean conflicting groups, but I mean a different cross-section of groups. So we have the contours of lawyers, we have the contours of justice, we have the contours of technology, we have the contours of crisis. So we are talking about reconciling. This is the typical balancing act that you're talking about. We're talking about two other features. We're talking about the issue during COVID crisis, and I beg to differ with most of my friends to say, I am hopeful that within 6 months, there will be some resumption of normality. Now, I have no real basis for that. It is purely my belief. So please take it at that. But the way things are going, one always believes that maybe the worst, though I still feel is still ahead of us, but somewhere down the line very quickly, the same hopefully would peak to come down and reduce itself to enable us to look at a different time zone and a different framework of life which we could come to. So we have the question of the current period, in fact, 3 periods. The first period of complete calamity, to feel that not knowing what was happening, not being able to be geared enough for what is happening. The second period, which is currently going on, where we have now learned to at least grapple with some part of this and to come up with some solutions, at least in the interregnum. And the third part is the future, and is post-COVID. So if you talk across these 3 time zones, I think the first, of course, was the post-toughest. I was looking at some of the figures of Supreme Court and High Court disposals. And in the Supreme Court, 638 cases were disposed of or taken up, not disposed, sorry. And in the High Court, Delhi High Court, 20,726 cases were taken up during this entire period of the last 2 phases that I was talking about, which is the first phase of COVID and the second phase of COVID. Of course, lockdown has had 4 phases to it. So the disposal rate has been very less. And I must point out one other feature when we are talking there. I was talking to some of the doctors, and the doctors said, these days people are not dying of heart attacks. Or even if they are dying, they are not being paid attention to, for the reason that COVID has taken over everything. So nobody is really looking at other aspects. If you look at crime, by and large, crime is not really happening. So therefore, one other question that arises is what kind of litigation, what kind of cases, what kind of justice delivery system we are talking about in the presence of all these situations where the legal issues themselves have subsided or been subsumed by the higher public health issue of COVID-19. That is a critical question, but my belief is that gradually things are restoring themselves to normalcy. And law, as one of the speakers rightly said, is dependent upon economics, market operations, industry operations, people's operations, contracts operation. So therefore, the resumption of law itself is subject to resumption of normal life, which even now is currently only in the process of happening and has hardly taken place, excepting for, of course, dilution of lockdown and giving up of some restrictions from time to time, which has been happening in the 4th period of lockdown. So having said this, I would like to really talk about 2 other things now. What do we do? Are we happy with virtual courts? I think nobody can possibly say, and nobody has said so far, that virtual courts in this period of COVID, the first 2 phases, as I mentioned, is something which is not desirable or something which shouldn't have been practiced. On the contrary, I think all of us have universally applauded the taking up of this extremely gigantic step by the courts and by the Supreme Court, in fact, who directed all the high courts to also evolve their own strategies so that the justice could be done qua, in particular, the issues on hand, which is COVID-19 related issues, which concern people across board, which concern the health workers, which concern flights, which concern students, which concerned workers. All these issues were taken up by the Supreme Court and the High Court, bails, transit situations. So we found evolution even during this time, where from time to time Supreme Court and the High Courts have resolved into having different kind of hearings, more hearings, graded hearings. In fact, the Supreme Court also amended the rules to say that a single judge could hear bail applications and transfer petitions. And from time to time, that evolution came. Gowns and courts were dispensed with on the ground of health issues. But yesterday, the chambers were open. So the entire effort is to bring back normalcy into place. But in the interregnum, what is to be done? I have been participating in virtual conferences, in the video conferences in several matters by now. I do find we may have problems with technology off and on, though personally I have not really faced any problem. But at the same time, yes, there is some possibility of problems. And of the second one, which is more important, is not of the access. Those are only situations which come around which possibly can be tackled. But the real problem is access. So we are talking about access of litigants, we are talking about access of lawyers, and in particular, we are talking about access of young lawyers. We are talking about, in particular, access of people in remote places. We are talking about access of people in villages. In fact, incidentally, the government is evolving programs to allow access situation by means of various programs and to link people together so that they can actually approach. So this interregnum method that has been evolved is, for the time being, working reasonably well to enable justice to be given to everybody across board, whoever can approach. There are some glitches which perpetually will be there. As I said, technology itself is an impediment. Initially, I don't know how many of you function, but the method of video, and in the High Court, for example, in the Delhi High Court, it's Cisco. So you do have to grapple with it, but thank God for being able to learn. And I think all of us are ready to learn with these systems. Even today, in fact, Kirti in the High Court hearing, Mr. P.P. Malhotra was arguing, and he was commended, in fact, by saying that even despite the fact that you are elder and you are a very mature counsel, you have been able to adapt yourself to the technology. So I suppose all of us are contend with the technology which is now available. But I think the ultimate goal, talking about are we ready at this point of time, and I'm not talking about only the readiness that Kirti was talking about. Are we ready to have this position? We have the position which was taken by by Joydeep, of a level playing field. I think that is a very important point. Are you able to have everybody go for physical hearings? No. Are you able to have everybody adhere to the responsibilities and the restrictions which have been placed or should be placed or should be followed in order to maintain social distancing and the various steps that have been prescribed by the lockdown processes. And are you ready to be able to conform to the curfew timings that are on way? Much as we desire to be in the open court, I must say that it is a completely different experience to be in open court. And yes, we are managing with the virtual conferencing, but at the same time, we would happily be present in the court because that is what we have been built to do, and that is the manner in which justice possibly should be dispensed. The public justice system is meant to be public and in the hearing of everybody, and in a manner in which dispensation is given, which is visible, which is transparent, which is accountable. But having said this, as I said, the current situation is there is a difficulty. And whether we can evolve these graded solutions like Justice Shukla was saying, to have Mondays and Fridays as virtual hearings and have Tuesdays to Thursdays as physical hearing, I think we are still possibly, there is some glitch in this which would not make it possible for us to be able to adapt to this, but that is purely a thought which I am putting across surface. The processes which we can expedite, I think Joydeep was very active in his enunciation of the various methods by which we could decrease congregations, which includes, of course, all the various methods of artificial intelligence, e-filing, digitization of records. In fact, we are already using artificial intelligence in the courts and thereby case management systems. But the difficulty of making a system uniform for everybody, that is, I think, where the key question would arise. Whether we can make, for example, e-filing mandatory, or should we have it as an optional system? Whether we can make virtual conferencing mandatory for all cases or even a class of cases. That is the other aspect, I think, which needs a bit of thought out. We could consider having virtual conferencing, where, for example, parties agree. Now, that may be a little difficult, but there are would consent. As a matter of course, I was just reminding myself, I have done 2 video conferencing in some matters much prior to this COVID era. And incidentally, I'm sure all of you know that the NGT, for example, has a virtual court hearing on certain days, which they were having. Thursdays, I think, was the day that was allocated for virtual court hearings across board. So there are a number of benefits of the system, and I think there are some possibilities of adapting it. So possibly Justice Shukla's idea, at which point of time, I don't wish to get there, but to have a graded kind of system whereby you may have virtual conferencing, for a certain category of matters, certain type of matters, definitely miscellaneous matters, and possibly not regular matters. But any case, that board is open and we could look into that. The second aspect, which I think is extremely important, is the fact that how do you manage to improve yourself? And I think one of the key questions, two questions that arises. One of overcrowding. I think this is something which has been bothering most of us who lead the bar, and to see that people are actually facing harassment because of this overcrowding of courts, and it has become, as somebody rightly said, a marketplace. So we do need to limit the number of people that would be there at any given point of time or in any given hearing, and because that has become an essential part of justice dispensation and no longer a matter which can be ignored. The second thing which I feel none of us possibly have come to, and I would like to mention that, is something which has been concerning at least me for a lot of time, is not only utilization of written arguments for purposes of bolstering the entire system, but the principle of time allocation. The time allocation of presentation of a case, I think, is something that we have been looking at for a long time. And there is, of course, from our sides, possibly some resistance on that aspect, but that is something that we need to gear up to. If we need to loosen up our arrears of cases, if we need to tie up and expedite the entire justice delivery system and the justice dispensation system, we will have to closely look at A, written arguments, and B, restriction in terms of time as to how long any matter can be addressed, which can be by way of prior consultation with the lawyers, and which used to happen from time to time on some kind of ad hoc basis. But possibly it is high time now that we come down to identifying this as a method of procedure whereby we can limit the time so that you have not only confinement of time, space, energies, people, and the various other evils that arise out of COVID-19 and otherwise as a matter of course also. The other factor, possibly on the last one, which I would like to mention at this point, is the factor of improving our entire infrastructure so that we can ensure certain principles which can evolve themselves for the betterment or the efficiency of the system in question. Now, that would include, as some of you mentioned, so I will not outline them, but definitely some of them are already on way. E-filing, for example, in commercial courts. The digitization of records in commercial courts is something that has happened and is working fairly efficiently. And I think that reduces a lot of burden on the exchequer as much as on the people and the load on the system. So I think it has come to a time where we need to step back. We need to look at what is possible for us to evolve ourselves as better, not only lawyers, but as better people, as better persons, as better human beings, and to evolve strategies which would go towards that purpose, and to evaluate what each of us and each of you have spoken in terms of contribution, because today I think society needs to put itself together so that we can take a way forward. Times are bad, but in these bad times, I think we've come out with very good rights. And I in fact dare say I was thinking of something which I had spoken about in the initial part, something called generation right. We have learned that we are first good human beings, and that is what we must transform ourselves into as good human beings and as lawyers, to enjoy the pleasures of time, the pleasures of no stress, possibly. Of course, now the stresses, 2 months have gone, so the stresses have come back to a different way. And I understand also the plight of the young lawyers as well as the other lawyers, any lawyers across board. People are dependent upon the earnings that they would make in this profession, and therefore there has to be an effort, and there has been effort by the bar and by members, senior members of the bar, to support people who are in difficulty and who would be in genuine difficulty because of not being able to earn. So these difficulties are being faced across board by us as society members. We need to stand together to see that we can meet all these issues. The last statement I want to make is on public justice. I think public justice, open hearing, is a hallmark of a justice delivery system. And for that to have articulation in court, in the presence, not only, and it has been held so in, whether you go back to 1930 or you go back to Jeremy Bentham, the entire principles of open justice delivery system is something that we cannot put on the back burner. It has always to stand visibly there for all society to see. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pinky ma'am. Now, no doubt, there is no stress nowadays of work. We all are watching so many web series. The stress is only of money and nothing else. Now, I would like to invite our Vice President, Mr. Uday Gupta, for vote of thanks and to take up question answers, if any. Mr. Uday Gupta.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Atre. I have unmuted all the panelists and our esteemed speaker. There are 4 basic questions. So I'll put them in order of how they have been posed on the chat site. The first question I would like Ms. Pinky Anand and Mr. Kirti Uppal to answer. There are a lot of questions which are being posed regarding functioning of district courts. A lot of our speakers here have concentrated on the Supreme Court and the Delhi High Court. But the district courts also need to function. And unless and until the district courts start functioning, you will not get the matters on the appellate side either before the High Court and then consequently before the Supreme Court as well. So may I request first Ms. Pinky Anand and thereafter Mr. Kirti Uppal to just throw some light on how district functioning can take place as quickly as possible.
You're absolutely right, Uday, and the speakers who have raised this question, I think it's a very valid question, because the larger functioning and the greater functioning of the larger number of people in respect to the justice delivery system is at the stage of district courts, and definitely not in the higher courts, the Supreme Court or the High Court. No doubt district courts have not been functioning at this point of time, and we all know the reasons broadly why, so we won't go there. But the real question is, how can you get the courts to function? Some interim functions, by the way, have been done. There have been video conferences, sub courts have held. And incidentally, before I address this, I have one small answer to give, which I forgot to mention. Yeah. Lawyers in most countries, unlike India, in fact, are considered as essential services, by the way, whether it's US or UK. So therefore, there is functioning in that capacity, though even there, as somebody said, it was through teleconferencing. But coming back to district courts, I think, yes, there is a very big need, because the ultimate starting point of any litigation is the district courts. And unless and until that gets going, the dispensation of justice itself would suffer aside from the appellate forums, etc. That is a second chapter. But you have to have the systems functioning in order to give people justice. I think with various openings that have been happening, there is always some thought happening every few days, but it is a matter of assessment. So until and unless the assessment makes it clear for public health, because today the real issue is public health, until and unless the public health issue is addressed, the functioning of the district courts on a normal basis may not be conceivable, at least in the immediate near future. I mean, in the next, let us say, 2-3 weeks is what I am talking about. Therefore, there has been a kind of deadline set for sometime in June, where the courts would remain, the work would remain suspended. But we hope that the situation which is being tackled at all levels, it would make some level of functioning possible in the district courts, at least in some of the courts there.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Mr. Kirtipal, if you could throw some light on this question.
Yeah, first of all, I mean, before you say thanks, let me express my gratitude to you and to everyone who has organized this beautiful, I would say, meeting. Yes, coming back to your question and the panelists, they are absolutely right. And Uday, you know for a fact that I started from district court.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is. It's a very valid. But when I started just talking about this, I did not categorize district court and high court, because a court is a court. When I say, are we ready? See, Madam Pinky Anand also said the same thing. With she added something very beautiful, that are we ready is not only are we ready as lawyer, are we ready as a nation also. And as I said, our source of what do you call a litigation, like a source of income, I won't use this, but a source of litigation is from service sectors, from heavy industries, from everywhere. So that is the first question we have to ask ourselves. And when I had said, if you remember, I said there are so many matters where the entire pleadings are complete. District court, fortunately, I remember as a young lawyer, I used to go there quite regularly. And I still go there. The district courts, some of them are fully equipped with the, I would say, a video conferencing method. And second is, in district court, they give you time, that we are going to give you this much time. Would you please like to finish your argument? And in case if you can't finish it, then you give your valuable, say, notes, and we'll consider that at the time of passing the order. Guru and Mr. Jaydeep, both of them were very articulate in one thing. Fortunately, I'm not 65 today, but yes, this concept of lockdown being over and restriction to various categories of people. There are a lot of people who may not be even 65, but they have a lot of other diseases, which is quite vulnerable to this COVID situation. So I would say the same methodology which we have discussed, arbitration, district court, high court. We have to have that same methodology. And Mr. Shukla, who was very, I would say, articulate in saying, and we have to work on these things. These meetings do not mean I have spoken today, Guru has spoken today, Jaydeep has spoken today, and that's over. Now we have to start, we have to make a movement of this. We have to tell the people, listen, you want this thing to start, you have to ask yourself a question, are we ready? Are we ready? When we say, are we ready? Am I going to respect all those people who are going to be around me? So then this Monday, Tuesday, or say Wednesday, Thursday, whatever the methodology, because ultimately I do agree that a full-fledged court functioning, a human touch, a human these things is essential. It's very essential, provided we follow strict discipline in adhering. And let me give you an example. And I'll finish it off with here. I've been a secretary or a president or a vice president or whatever. I go to court and some youngster comes and tells me, sir, your matter is going to take 10 minutes, so can you please just wait? Oh, you are telling me. Now you are telling me to wait. You know whom are you talking to? this attitude will have to change. It's a new world. Kirti Uppal has to forget that he was so and so. Kirti Uppal should behave the way the world wants to behave. So in district court also, I have a lot of friends. We'll have to follow this discipline if we are ready to follow. And we have to start by, I can't say that tomorrow all the courts be open. Let's try and test our own discipline first. If we are able to follow it, because I'm told, I don't know how far it's true, people can correct me. Allahabad started, and then there was a huge crowd in the court. The next day they had to say, sorry, we can't function like this. So all these things, it applies to district court also. In the same way, because a court is a court, whether it is district court or it is high court or it is Supreme Court. The court will always remain court.
Many thanks, sir. There is one more question which is combined actually, so Mr. Jaideep Gupta and Mr. Guru Krishna Kumar and Justice Shukla can answer. There are a lot of queries as to how do you handle different matters in different virtual courts. You know, for example, in the Supreme Court now there are about 3 or 4 virtual courts functioning simultaneously. So if Mr. Jaideep Gupta has got matters, say in virtual court 1 and virtual court 2, and the system of passover is not there, then how do the matters get delayed? And additional query is, can't the court functions in partly in day and a little after 5 p.m. say, in order to clear the backlog, because there will be a huge backlog of cases. So these 2 queries are there, which I have.
Justice Shukla, would you like to go first?
No, you may address. Thank you.
I was thinking that Passover system is meant for the benefit of lawyers. It's not really a necessity of justice delivery system at all.
Yes.
So if one of the results of this churning is that there won't be, you can't accept more than a finite number of briefs, and because there won't be Passovers, then maybe that's a good thing altogether. Secondly, I have this vision of a really busy council. Not me, but the moment I say this, everybody can have a picture. It can include Ms. Anand, because our government lawyers are perhaps the busiest lawyers in court. You can have, sitting in one chair, access to 5 screens, and you can just move your angle and address different courts. Pinky, I think that your physical labor will be considerably reduced as a result of that. And finally, whether we can do day and night is really a matter for the judges. They are the ones who are going to take the brunt of that kind of exceptional hard work. We will appear before them from time to time. They will be in court from, from 10 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock in the evening. It can become a little inhuman for them. So that's what I was thinking. Thank you.
I was just going to add a couple of sentences to what Jaideep had just pointed out. There is definitely a need for some kind of regimentation of appearances in court and also time being taken in arguments. You have to have written submissions before hearing takes place and also after hearing takes place. That's one part. Talking about courts sitting beyond regular timing hours and then having some kind of a shift method. Jaideep is right. Judges are an overworked lot. They have tremendous amount of workload. We as lawyers, we go argue cases before them. We argue our viewpoints, and then it's for the judges to assimilate and then put together a decision which is reasoned. And for the lower courts, they have to be sustained by the higher court. They should not be found fault with, both in terms of factual assimilation and also application of the law. But what I'm saying is that maybe a system can be thought of, at least for the next few months or in the immediate future, for the backlog of cases, where you have some categorization of cases as those which can be heard for only half an hour or 45 minutes or 1 hour, have written submissions, have agreement between counsel on both sides, and have some kind of stretched hearing, maybe on a rotational basis of the courts, only for the backlog to be cleared. Because for the last 2 to 3 months, there has been a huge pileup of cases. In fact, one biggest problem we have had in our system is the pileup of cases over the years. So at least for the backlog, this can be thought of so that the judges also at the same time are not overburdened. Maybe consider ad hoc judges being appointed only for that purpose. Maybe have set of people being brought in for a limited period of time. Once you're able to clear some portion or at least a major portion of the backlog, then go back to regular method of functioning. That's one thing I wanted to add to what Jaideep had to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Justice Shukla, would you like to add something to it?
What I was suggesting that judges are normally accommodative on this matter. In case there are two matters coming, a request is made in one court, they will accommodate you. Certainly the matter will be taken up in the revised court. I had a chance. Justice Nageshwara accommodated me, and then the matter was taken up in the revised court. So at the end of the day, it is the judge takes a final call, and normally they are all kind.
Thank you very much. I'll now, on behalf of the forum, convey a formal vote of thanks. Honorable Mr. Justice A.K. Sikri, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, Srimati Pinky Anand, Senior Advocate, Shri Jaideep Gupta, Shri Guru Krishna Kumar, V.K. Shukla, and Shri Kirti Uppal, Senior Advocates. When on behalf of this forum, we decided to hold this webinar, we thought there is perhaps no indicia available to quantify the damage that COVID-19 has done to our profession. That was the primary idea, to have this webinar so that we can have an exchange of thoughts, not only on the e-court filing, the virtual conference system that is now in place for hearing of matters, but the amount of damage that it has done. And to me, on a lighter note, I remembered what Mr. Nani Palkiwala had once said while addressing the 125th anniversary of the Bombay University of Nagpur. He had said that law may or may not be an ass, but in India, it certainly is. So, because in any event, proceedings are protracted, a lot of time is taken in litigation, matters to be decided, coupled with COVID-19, which has come as a jolt to the entire system. I think this was an important topic. We are very grateful to Justice Sikri for joining us out of his busy schedule today. We are thankful to Ms. Pinky Anand, Senior Advocate, for her views, and equally to Shri Jaideep Gupta, Shri Guru Krishna Kumar, Shri V.K. Shukla, and Shri Kirti Uppal, because they have varied experiences. Mr. Kirti Uppal, of course, coming from Delhi High Court, we wanted to get views from the High Court as well. Then, of course, all designated seniors were practicing before the Supreme Court with us, so we see them every day. And now I think it's time that we are getting birth pangs on not being able to physically meet each one of us. But then, so long as the system continues, I think we'll have to manage with this. So I once again, on behalf of the Supreme Court Young Lawyers, thank everybody who has joined us today, as also attendees, and all those who have followed this function on YouTube today. Many thanks. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Can we leave?
Everyone.
Vikas, do you want the
Yes.
one by one?
Sir, thank you very much, all of you, sir.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
It's a very genuine question, sir.
Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
juniors are really in very much difficult court about
No,
now.
you are absolutely right.
And we got your suggestions. Sir, may I request Mr. Jaideep Gupta, sir, please sum up all suggestions so that we, on behalf of forum, we could send to
That
the
is true.
Minister of India. Maybe something could be happened.
Yes, but because you are the people who have got it recorded,
Sir.
so you will be
Yeah,
in the best
that makes
position
sense.
to do this.
Sir, as
Yeah.
a senior, sir, for your applause, please sum up.
The world order is because the world order because the world order is changing. The world order is changing. Youngsters are going to take the lead. So you and mind you, you're not as young as you're trying to pretend.
Yes, sir.
I always challenge the young guys. I said every day I jog 10 kilometers.
उधर पूरी कमेटी को मिलवा दो एक one by one पूरी कमेटी को.
That's it, sir.
Okay, so I'll just introduce the committee one by one. Mr. Vikas Bansal, everybody knows him very well. He's the president of the forum. Then Dr. Abhishek Atre, the secretary of the forum. I am myself the vice president of the forum. Then we have Mr. Avnish Sinha. He's the treasurer of the forum. So he's the person who finances all this for us.
Oh,
Where he's
Oh, so I know where to take money now.
he's the man.
He's the man.
He's the man in charge, sir, actually. Then we have Miss Reena
Mukesh Verma.
Rao. She's here.
Mukesh Verma.
Member executive. Then we have Miss member executive. Mr. Mas Kumar Singh, member executive.
Hello.
Then Mr. Mukesh Verma,
Joint Secretary.
secretary. Ms. Narmada Singh, member executive. Ms. Mona Rajvanshi, also member executive. There are one or two. Mr.
Alka Sinha.
Tripathi is there. MK Tripathi is member executive.
Tripathi.
Arundhati.
Arundhati, Alka Sinha.
Arundhati, I'm just trying to find out.
Chalo. ठीक है.
Abhishek, if you can put the spotlight on Arundhati
चलो ठीक है.
and Hiren Dasan, because they were there.
Hiren Dasan. They are not.
But I can't see them right now. So
चलो.
Dasan is here. So Dasan is member executive, Hiren Dasan. And
Arundhati is not visible.
Arundhati, I can't see. So
Arundhati and Alka Sinha.
we'll have to miss them out for today. We've already taken a lot of
How we end the program?
Yeah.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
young
all.
man.
It went
Thank you.
off very smoothly. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.